I actually got the videos lined up correctly. I didn't before, but now I do. I've prevented the mistakes that had happened before. We are here now. Bernie Sanders and Thune, Senator Sanders and Senator John Thune, had a debate on the $2,000 stimulus checks, and I want to go ahead and take a look at that debate with you guys, because I think some of the stuff in that is very telling, and it's interesting. So let's go ahead and take a look.
Vermont, I've missed something in the translation here. I'd like to ask the senator from Vermont to explain this faux outrage from the Republican side of the aisle.
Well, I think my friend from Illinois missed nothing in the translation. He's exactly right. But I also...
Senator from Illinois makes a good point. Senator, yield for a question.
Yeah.
So if the same formula is used and you're increasing the amount by $1,400 per person, so you're going from basically for a family of four, what would be $2,400 payment to $8,000 payment, and you phase that down using the same formula, does the senator from Illinois understand the math and why that skews toward people who make a lot more money than they would under the other formula?
So, can we go ahead and pause for a sec and kind of break down what's being said here? Is that, you know, people who are more rich may have bigger families. By adding more money into a COVID relief bill, you would end up having more money that goes to rich people necessarily. What I think's not being considered here and not being thought of is that how many people in the United States do you think are rich? How many do you think are in poverty? Because even if a bill favors the rich more in and of itself, like on an individual level, if it helps more people who are suffering and who are hurting, that's ultimately what matters there. Personally, for me, I would rather take a utilitarian approach and help more people if I could, even if it ends up helping some bigger businesses. Because if the option is not get anything done and make them suffer just because you hate Walmart, trust me, I have every reason in the book to hate them, but I'd rather have starving families taken care of as well.
If the question's directed toward me, I'll answer it.
Well, I just think that you're making a point and a statement which is not accurate, because you're saying the formula is the same. The formula is the same, but the inputs change. And so the way it ramps down means that somebody who makes $350,000 gets a payment under the Sanders-Hawley proposal that they wouldn't know, and it phases out a lot sooner, as you know. So let's be clear about how...
So I like how it phases out a lot sooner, but at the end of the day, you do understand that a lot of these payments didn't have long phases unless you were unemployed. They were just one-time payments. So really, that's kind of a non-topic here. Moreover, again, yeah, if that money ends up going to a family of $300,000, let me give you an example of why this particular statement is dumb. I know that this may not happen very often, but I can explain based on what's actually happened in my life. So, my parents, my mom and stepdad, both worked jobs where they made over $100,000 a year. That was 2 years ago. This last set of COVID checks, the $1,200 ones, were based off of the income that you made in 2018, because they were based off of your 2019 taxes, the taxes you did in 2019, if memory serves. Which basically meant that even though they no longer work at those jobs, they are now doing their own, they started a business, an antique business, which was flourishing up until COVID hit. Now they're making almost no money off of it, pennies at best. They did not get to receive COVID-19 relief because of their situation. Because when it was calculated whether or not they received relief, they were well and above the 75,000 threshold. That meant that they could not qualify for the 1,200 checks. Well, what about the business ones? There's payroll stuff. Well, they don't take a payroll yet because their business is new and they don't make enough to even make a payroll. So they don't qualify for that either. The relief bill didn't help them because they made too much money at one point. They don't anymore, but because of circumstantially, when the calculations were made, they were screwed. Why? Because we were so concerned about whether or not we would do something that would help the middle class, the rich, more than it would help poor people. But we were willing to use that as a spidey mechanism that screwed people over in general later. That's what I'm seeing happen here. As somebody who's seen a family, my family, live through this problem, I'm seeing that here.
How that formula works, because you are misrepresenting the way that formula works.
And I asked my friend from...
Senator from Vermont has the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I would ask my friend from South Dakota, do you disagree with the Tax Policy Center, which says that the top 5% of Americans, the wealthiest people in our country, would receive less than 1% of the total benefits being dispersed?
I have not seen the Tax Policy Center, but I know math, and I know.
Has anybody seen the Bill Nye versus Ken Ham debate? No, I haven't actually seen your source, but I have this book. That's what I just heard there. No, I haven't seen this important policy that is important to this debate, but I know math.
It was a basic principle that when you stick bigger numbers in there, and you're using the same formula to phase something out, you're going to make it available to people who make a lot more money.
And, again, there are situations, like the one I pointed out there, where people made more money arbitrarily during the time where it was acceptable, during the time where these calculations are being meant, but they're not making it now. But those calculations are still based off of those old, outdated numbers. It doesn't matter. They're a citizen. They should get relief. Fuck it. This is like saying that if you make a certain amount of money, you shouldn't receive health care. No, if you make a certain amount of money, you should still receive health care because you're still a human and it's still a human right.
That is a mathematical fact. And what you are saying when you talk about the same formula, it skews entirely different in the income scale. You know that. And all I'm saying is don't misrepresent the facts.
What I am saying is that according to a very reputable tax center organization, people who do this for a living, less than 1% of the benefits of the entire program go to the wealthiest people in this country. So when
Imagine that.
you're talking about trying to say, oh my God, all of this money is going to the rich, that ain't really true. But I would also ask my friend,
But he knew better because he knew math, right?
where did you suddenly become a religious adherent about concern of socialism for the rich when you gave 83% of the benefits to the rich and large corporations in the tax bill that you supported? Where was your concern about socialism for the rich when Amazon, owned by the richest guy in the world, got a $129 million tax rebate?
And if you ever wanted to know why I like Bernie, this is why. Imagine coming to the Senate floor, knowing exactly who you were going to be squaring off with, and then carrying props, theatrical props, so that you could dunk on him. That is beautiful.
I didn't hear much about socialism for the rich during that debate. Yeah.
Very simply, what you are suggesting, so what you're saying here is the owner of the Washington Post who said this is really bad policy and shouldn't be done in this way at the end of this year. Is that what you're saying, that because he is a wealthy person that somehow that's why he's making that statement? I think the Washington Post editorial board in most cases would be very sympathetic to the senator from Vermont's argument, because they take a liberal point of view on almost every issue.
So this is what is called a genetic fallacy. This is where you say, I believe they would agree with you because they happen to lean liberal, except for the fact that Sanders leans more left than what WAPO is typically okay with. He leans more left than those publications. So, but again, even aside from that, by dismissing what would or could be said based solely on an alignment, perceived alignment, this is dismissing the efficacy of a statement based on its source. It is a genetic fallacy, and it does not do you any favors when you engage in it.
My point, very simply, is that we have limited amount of resources. This is borrowed money, as the senator from Vermont knows. And when we spent months, literally months, and you asked, why can't you guys just come down here? Why can't you just come down here and debate this? We tried 4 months to get the Democrats down here to debate a bill.
Except for the amount of times where Mitch McConnell put everybody into a recess and he is the Republican Party majority leader. But, you know, ignoring the actual history of what's happened, maybe he's right.
We've put a bill on the floor in September. We put a bill on the floor in October.
And if the bill was shit, they didn't like it.
A coronavirus relief bill. And you guys blocked it. You didn't even want to talk about it. You didn't want to have an opportunity to amend it.
Because in several of those bills that were put on the table, do you know what wasn't in those bills? Individual relief checks. You know, the thing that has probably had the single most impact and help during this pandemic for individual people, individuals, was not in several of those bills. And yes, there were too many writers on those bills. They were pork fat bills where other things were in it, like this last one that had shit against fucking streamers in it. Of course they didn't want those things. But then, because you guys tied so much fat and garbage to the bills, and then it was only until recently, it wasn't until recently, that another round of stimulus checks, and breadcrumb ones at that, were even being talked about.
We've been working at this 4 months, and we finally arrived, after months, at a proposal that helps people who need it the most, including nutrition assistance, including rental assistance, and including checks to people, $2,400 per family,
Reclaiming my time.
and including unemployment.
All that I'm saying, this is a great debate. John, we should have this debate. And in 2 minutes, John, I'm going to give you the opportunity to say you support what we're doing, and then we will have this debate. That's your opportunity. But I want to get back. The senator from South Dakota did not answer the question that there was not apparently huge concern about socialism for the rich in the bill that they supported, or worried about the debt that would incur. So I see, if I may say so, a bit of hypocrisy here. Senator Thune and the Republican leadership wants to debate this issue. So do I. I think it's a great debate. Great debate. Now, as everybody knows, Senator McConnell proposed an idea. I don't agree with it, but it's an idea that's worthy of debate and discussion. And he said, let's combine 3 elements together. Let's incorporate the bill passed in the House by 2/3 of the House, including 44 Republicans. Let's add to that the repeal of Section 230 of the Telecommunications Act, and let's...
This is where McConnell wanted to repeal 230, which would basically let Trump do things like sue Twitter. And then also he wanted to have the election committee established here so that they could continue with their coup.
Also add to that, at President Trump's request, an issue about voter integrity, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? That is what Senator McConnell proposed. And in one moment, I am going to bring, see, I know Republicans think I don't do much for them, and I'm not concerned about them, but Senator Thune, I'm going to bring your bill to the floor, show you what a nice guy I am. New year, I'm going to bring Mr. McConnell, Senator McConnell's bill right to the floor and give you an opportunity to vote for it. All that I am asking, while I bring Senator McConnell's Republican bill to the floor, we are going to bring the bill that passed the House with 44 Republicans to the floor as well. We'll have 2 votes. One vote on Senator McConnell's bill, needs 60 votes to pass. One bill on the House. One vote on the House bill, 60 votes to pass. That's it. So it's hard for me to imagine how Senator Thune will object to us bringing forward the Republican bill. Here it goes. This is the legalese that I need to say, and I'm going to bring it forth, and I'm sure that...
So, you like what he did there? He just completely bypassed when Thune tried to say that we tried to do this in this month, and this month, and this month. He went, okay, cool. You're upset that we didn't vote on it? Fine. We're going to do it now. Right fucking now. And now he throws it into his court. Like, all right, Thune. All right, John. You can do it. You can now vote.
Senator Thune will support me in my effort. I ask unanimous consent that if cloture is invoked on the veto message on H.R. 6395, National Defense Authorization Act, that not
I think it's just the legalese part now, right?
Passage of the bill, and that if passed...
Okay. Part is much less entertaining than watching Bernie just engage in dunking. I'm going to be so sad when this man passes. Because just watching him dunk is great. But I would like to point out that this is a thing that seems to happen a lot in debates, where a Democrat and a Republican will go against each other. And typically a Democrat will be okay with answering specific questions, pointing out specific issues, coming prepared. And a Republican will answer with things like, well, I know math. Well, we tried to vote on this before, ignoring the fact that we're having the conversation, right fucking now. This is a pretty common thing. If you watch the Raphael Warnock and Kelly Loeffler debate, all of that debate was Warnock answering questions directly and then Loeffler going, my opponent is a radical liberal, TM. And so many of these debates end up going this way, and it is strange to watch. Because as somebody who's been engaged in the debate community for the last 3 years, this is the stuff I see from creationists. This obfuscation in conversation, instead of doing what debate is theoretically supposed to be, which is you and I coming together, accepting that neither of us might know the truth, but we believe very heavily in our version of it, so we're going to present them to the table, and then maybe at the end we can come to the truth by the end of the debate. That's what it's supposed to be. That's what a debate classically was, if we're talking about, like, how structured debate began. But that's not what we're seeing here. We're seeing cheap gotchas so that people have to respond with cheap gotchas, and then nothing actually getting done as a result. COVID relief is important. Honestly, I think that people should be receiving back pay at this point for the last few months where they had to deal with layoffs and not being able to go to work and having fewer people allowed in businesses at the same time and having to lose their businesses, and the fact that unemployment has more than tripled in this year alone. I think people should be receiving back payments at this point. We'll call them reparations if we need to. I don't care. But I did want to show the little bit from that debate, because honestly, I think seeing some of this stuff, if you haven't been exposed to it already, is important. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. Hit the like button, hit subscribe if you enjoyed watching. I know it was basically, in this case, just watching a debate with my commentary, which may or may not be somewhat entertaining depending on who you are. But hey, let me know what you think.